Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's Textile Talk. My name is Lucy Shaken, and I'm SAQA's Communications Coordinator and your Textile Talks organizer. It is a beautiful, chilly fall day here in Philadelphia. I would love to know in the chat where you're tuning in from. I saw people checking in from the UK, Belgium, Canada, Italy, and Germany already, so that is fabulous. Welcome, everybody. Textile Talks are presented by the International Quilt Museum, Quilt Alliance, Studio Art Quilt Associates, or SAQA, and Surface Design Association. We love bringing you these free programs every week, thanks to the support of our sponsors, who you just saw in that video, and contributions from viewers like you. If you enjoy Textile Talks, please consider supporting our work with a donation at saqa.com/ttsupport. We have a great program for you today, but first, a few Zoom notes. This is a webinar, so we can't see or hear you, but we can read your comments in the chat. We have enabled Zoom's closed captioning feature for this program. You should be able to turn captions on or off by finding the CC or Live Captions button. If you're on a mobile device, you might need to go into your settings to do this. Today's program is pre-recorded, so we will not have a Q&A segment. If you have suggestions for ways we can improve, or for topics you'd like to see in future Textile Talks, please let us know in the post-event survey. Today's program will be an introduction to the Max Berk Textile Collection in Heidelberg, Germany. Dr. Kristine Scherer is the longtime curator of the museum, and she was kind enough to record this presentation for us. Currently, the museum is showing SAQA Global Exhibition Abstraction, Textural Elements. I'd like to start out by showing you all a short video of the opening reception. And our thanks to exhibiting artist Sandra Lauterbach for providing this footage. So let me share that opening reception video right now. That was just a little taste of Abstraction, Textural Elements, which will be on view at the Max Berk Textile Collection until January 5th. You can see it online at saqa.com/art. And if you're in the area, anywhere near Heidelberg, visit this Saturday at 2 p.m. for a Painting with Fabrics workshop, or this Sunday at 3 p.m. for an artist talk with exhibiting artist Isabel Wiesler. We're very proud of our Global Exhibitions program at SAQA. We've brought art quilts to millions of people all over the world at venues like the Max Berk Textile Collection, quilt shows, galleries, and museums. Over 250 venues across 6 continents. Your art could travel the world too. Our next call for entry is Color in Context Blue. Color in Context Blue will be accepting entries for the month of November. and the juror will be Ian Barry. Ian is an internationally acclaimed fiber artist working in denim. You might remember him from Textile Talks back in 2022. You can find that recording and our entire archive of over 200 textile talks at SAQA.com/textile talks. Color in Context Blue will premiere at European Patchwork Meeting in Alsace, France in September 2025. We would love to have you join SAQA and enter your work for the show. Viewers of Textile Talks get $20 off the first year of a new membership with code TALKS. That's TALKS. So join our creative community and get your work out there. We have exhibition opportunities for artists at all stages of their careers. So now, on to today's program. The Max Berk Textile Collection with curator Dr. Kristine Scherer. As I said earlier, this is pre-recorded, and I will be playing it at maximum volume on my end, so you might want to grab some headphones or be prepared to adjust your own speakers. Here's Kristine.
Hello, this is Kristine Scherer, and she has been the sole curator of the Max Berk Textile Museum since 1992. I am pleased to introduce the museum to you and thank SAQA for this opportunity. The Max Berk Textile Museum is relatively young compared to other museums, but it is one of the oldest textile museums in Germany. Its history began with its opening on 17th December 1978 at the latest. In the years prior to this, however, the founder Max Berk had already amassed a private collection of textiles from all over the world on his travels. In November 1973, the Heidelberg factory owner acquired the complex of buildings by the master builder Johann Jakob Richard, dating from 1733 and 1768 from the Protestant parish in the Heidelberg district of Ziegelhausen. An outcry went through the press because by German standards, the profanation of churches in the 1970s was still the great exception, in contrast to Great Britain and the Netherlands. Max Berk had the building complex, which was already a listed building at the time, carefully restored, and the appearance remained almost unchanged. Alternative uses such as a youth center or discotheque would certainly have been a worse solution, and so things soon calmed down. One problem that you can see on this first slide, however, is the river Neckar, which has always come and will always come to visit. Incidentally, in Ziegelhausen, they say that the Neckar is Protestant, as it has not yet visited the Old Catholic Church, which is situated higher up. But of course, the safety of the exhibited objects is always guaranteed. The businessman Max Berk was born in 1907 and as a young man was a successful football player at VfR Mannheim, Verein für Rasenspiele, translated Club for Grass Games, together with Sepp Herberger, a very well-known German footballer, among others. He trained in Mannheim at the Epstein and Gerstle underwear factory, which he took over in 1938, but which had to be closed down at the end of the Second World War. It should be noted that Mannheim, with its important inland harbor, was almost completely destroyed by Allied airstrikes. After the end of the Second World War, Max Berk then set up a new business in Heidelberg, later in a suburb. In the early 1950s, Max Berk came across the Betty Barclay teenage brand while traveling in the USA. He signed a license agreement for Europe with the owner company Jonathan Logan Group, which was founded around 1940 and adopted their idea of producing affordable women's fashion for teenagers. In 1972, he finally acquired the sole worldwide rights of use. From the very beginning, the models were sold in a maximum of 2 shops per city, and Betty Barclay quickly became a brand name for affordable, ready-to-wear fashion. By the end of the 1950s, turnover had risen to almost 20 million Deutschmarks, and the company employed almost 1,000 persons in 10 stores. Due to the great success, Max Berk soon founded other fashion brands, such as Vera Mont for evening and festive fashion, or the fashion label Gil Brett, and branches were also established in Austria and Switzerland. In the 1980s, the company launched its own Betty Barclay shops. Since 1990s, perfumes, shoes, accessories, and more recently eyewear have been added to the range, with the Saint Jacques and cartoon labels being added from the year 2000 onward. To mark Max Berk's 85th birthday, the Textile Museum held an exhibition in his honor in autumn 1992 entitled Fashion Yesterday and Today, a photo of which you can see here. Max Berk in front of his first models from the mid-1950s. This was the last tribute in his lifetime to the museum founder, who died on 31st of March 1993. Max Berk's daughter Doris, one of 4 daughters who sadly passed away a month after her father in 1993, helped to shape the Textile Museum from the very beginning in 1978, having learned to appreciate the tradition of patchwork quilting while traveling in the USA. In Germany and most of Europe, this had been somewhat forgotten with the immigrants to the New World. As early as June 1980, Doris Winter exhibited together with other quilters in the museum and offered workshops, at that time still for traditional patchwork. This was at a time when there was neither a distinct quilting scene nor a patchwork guild in Germany. This was only founded in 1985. The Heidelberg Hearts and Castle Quilters Guild was also only formed in 1989 as an association of American and German women. You may know that the US Army and NATO had one of their most important bases in Europe in Heidelberg. Today, the former headquarters is home to the Mark Twain Center for Transatlantic Relations. It is named after the American writer who also visited Heidelberg on his trip to Europe in 1878. This shows a quilt by Doris Winter from 1991. Quite groundbreaking. Unfortunately, the scan of the catalog illustration is not very good. In 1984, the first German-language quilt biennial took place at the Textile Museum. That is, a competition was organized for applicants from Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. Embedded in this chronological sequence, it becomes clear what a pioneering role the Textile Museum played in the German and later European quilt scene. This shows a slide with exhibits from the first biennial, still somewhat overloaded in terms of hanging, and the SAQA exhibition Masterworks in spring 2020. Both are taken from a similar perspective. As you can see, a lot has happened in the museum presentation, which may have something to do with Dr. Scherer's aesthetic vision and training as an art historian. Unfortunately, this SAQA exhibition at the time coincided exactly with the first coronavirus lockdown and was only on display for a few weeks in total. It was planned to run for a total of 5 months. Now, chronological impressions of the most important past exhibitions will be shown before concluding with a more detailed look at the development of the quilt biennial and triennial. An exhibition with the well-known Belgian tapestry weaver Yvette Coquille Prince took place as early as 1979. She worked together with renowned modernist painters such as Marc Chagall and Pablo Picasso and was even friends with them. The following year, the museum exhibited batiks by the Japanese artist Taizo Minakawa. The winner of the Emperor's Prize was known for his successes in the field of reserve dyeing using wax, but today he is more appreciated for his woodcuts. Shortly after traveling to Heidelberg for the opening of the exhibition, he dedicated a 2-part screen to the city that made such a deep impression on him, which you can see on the slide on the right. There have always been workshops and other activities at the museum. In May 1981, for example, Thomas Schimmel embroidered for 50 hours without interruption under the supervision of a notary, setting a world record at the time. In 1982, an exhibition of Flemish tapestries from the 17th century was organized with the Belgian embassy, one of the museum's most expensive exhibitions in terms of insurance. Lieselotte von der Pfalz plays an important role in Heidelberg. She was born as the daughter of the elector who lived in Heidelberg and later married into the court of the French Sun King Louis XIV. She was very unhappy there and wrote many letters in Palatinate dialect, some of which are very coarse. The Frenchman Jean Lurca was the most important innovator of tapestry, in that he once again understood it as a separate artistic genre. He therefore dispensed with perspective-based pictorial compositions. He overcame the transfer of cardboard painting into woven pictures, as had been customary since the Renaissance. The Textile Museum dedicated a tribute to him in 1986. 3 years later, the museum showed trends in modern tapestry inspired by Lurca in a world tour that presented tapestries from Australia, Canada, the USA, and Europe. The exhibition of kimonos by Japanese artists in May 1991 also looked beyond the European horizon, with a demonstration on how to put on a kimono with the various undergarments and the obi. Originally founded in 1985 as an English Quilters Association, the Quilt Art Group now also includes non-European members such as Domini Nash from the USA. A first presentation in Heidelberg took place in 1992, followed by a further 6 exhibitions. In 2026, the 40th anniversary of the group will be celebrated at the Textile Museum, somewhat belatedly. Incidentally, there is a strict selection process. You have to apply and successfully pass at least 1 interview to be accepted into the group. This and the following slide shows examples of work by members of the group. Another series of exhibitions, the International Lace Biennial, was dedicated to the medium of contemporary lace. This prestigious competition was under the patronage of the then Queen Fabiola of Belgium, but was unfortunately discontinued in 2006. Dr. Scherer had the pleasure of meeting Fabiola in person a few times and even dined with her and the other judges in her castle. You can see from this and the next photo how innovative and high caliber this competition was. Materials such as wire, plastic, paper, hot glue, and in addition to the classic bobbin lace technique, free techniques such as laser collage, decoupage, etc. were used. In 1994, Quilt Expo 4 took place in Karlsruhe, about 50 kilometers or 31 miles from Heidelberg. In cooperation with the organizers, the American International Quilt Association, now Quilts Incorporated in Houston, Texas, we organized an international quilt exhibition in Heidelberg entitled Quilt Art, a Contemporary View. Here are shown two examples that could not be more contrasting. On the left, the fantastic, very realistically depicted geraniums by Velda E. Newman from the USA, and on the right, the abstract, calm, and, in Dr. Scherer's opinion, very aesthetic composition by the Grande Dame of the German quilt art scene, Erika Odermair. Heidelberg is located in the Rhine-Neckar metropolitan region, which also includes the two larger cities of Mannheim and Ludwigshafen. The maximum distance between the three cities is 30 kilometers or 18.5 miles. In the past, cross-city culture projects have been organized by a regional development association. In 1994, on art and culture of the 1920s, and in 1998 on art and culture of the 1950s. The Max Berk Textile Collection also took part in both, at that time still under the private sponsorship of Betty Barclay. However, the exhibition finally, chic again, was a cooperation with the Palatinate Museum Heidelberg, to which we have belonged since January 2002. Since then, the Textile Museum has no longer been privately, but is publicly owned. For the exhibition of 1950s fashion, finally chic again, there was a call in the newspaper for items on loan, and there was an extraordinary response. Supplemented with furniture typical of the period, the exhibition provided a light-hearted insight into the special era of the economic miracle. An international exhibition on the theme of art to wear, organized by the Chamber of Crafts in Düsseldorf, was particularly spectacular. 116 artists from Australia, Belgium, Brazil, Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, Austria, Poland, Portugal, Scotland, Switzerland, Hungary, and the USA took part and filled the entire museum with fantastic designs. The dancer, costume designer, and artist Rolando Rasmussen, who died in Paraguay in 2021, was responsible for the exhibition. He also created the cover motif for the catalog, which you can see below on the right. In December 1996, a new costume collection concept entitled Fashion Stroll Through 3 Centuries was opened. The collection ranged from the oldest exhibit, a child's dress from around 1740, to the petticoat fashion of the 1950s, the period when the Betty Barclay Company was founded in Germany. A few months later, in March 1997, a small section with dolls' houses and dolls' houses collected by Doris Winter, who died in 1993, was also opened. Here you can see a delightful fashion salon from the late 19th century. Another collaboration with the American International Quilt Association took place not only in 1994, but also in 1998. Quilt Art, From Baroque to Avant-Garde, and Tactile Architecture were the titles of the two quite different exhibitions. The former was put together especially for the Quilt Expo 6 in Innsbruck, May 25 to 31, 1998. For this, international quilters were invited to show work that was either made in the traditional manner and possessed the ornamental, opulent formal language of the Baroque, or avant-garde tendencies in color and form, or even a combination of both. The exhibits in the Tactile Architecture exhibition came mainly from the USA. The museum took another look at Japan in 1999 with the presentation of a private collection of workwear from the 19th and early 20th centuries. With their impressive decoration, these magnificent Japanese firemen's coats, hanten, and merchant smocks, happi, represent a highlight of applied art in Japan. Abstract ornamentation, expressive illustrations, and calligraphically stylized characters characterize the modern appearance of these textiles to this day and demonstrate the expressiveness, refined aesthetics, and powerful formal language of Japanese design. This exhibition broke new ground, as unlike women's garments or theater costumes, traditional Japanese men's clothing had not yet been the subject of a major exhibition until the turn of the millennium. Olga de Amaral, one of the most renowned international textile artists, was honored in the same year. Born in Colombia in 1932, she was one of the avant-garde textile artists of the 1960s. Only represented in a few exhibitions in Europe, including the 42nd Venice Biennale, her works can be found in major art museums in the USA, South America, and Japan. After studying architecture, textiles, and design, de Amaral discovered textile materials and techniques as a means of expression. Based on the pre-Columbian textile tradition, she combines numerous techniques of weaving and braiding in complex constructions. In the 1970s, she created her famous woven walls, free-hanging constructions made from wrapped bundles of thread. Multi-layered veils of thread and woven bands of wool, fiber, horsehair, and linen form the basic material of her most recent wall objects and steels. They are imaginatively hung next to each other like lamelles or braided with color accents and gilding. The flexible structures have recently solidified into panel-like steels with gilded plaster overlays. At $600,000 US, the sum insured is likely to have been one of the highest in the museum's history. Probably Michael James needs no introduction, as he is one of the best-known quilters not only in the USA, but also a professor of textiles, merchandising, and fashion design at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. He began with elaborate ellipsoidal compositions, but since 1996, his work has shown a return to simple, almost archaic-looking geometric shapes and a strong reduction of color. Michael James's artistic work has been recognized in the past with numerous awards, such as his introduction into the Quilters Hall of Fame. Ursula Rauch, born 1944, studied commercial art, painting, and art education at the Academy of Fine Arts in Karlsruhe and Berlin. Her first textile works were created between 1968 and 1973, and trips to Indonesia and southern Morocco left their mark on Ursula Rauch's oeuvre. More significant in terms of content, however, was and is the artist's examination of the relationship between men and women and the life situation of women. Since 1996, the artist has been particularly concerned with the violation of human rights caused by the mutilation of women, which is common in Africa in particular. Based on the plant theme, she decides on the choice of materials and techniques. Processes such as cutting, slashing, or tearing thus also become the expression of a dimension of content. Over the years, Ursula Rauch has developed her own characteristic formal language, which was originally figurative and now consists of highly simplified signs or pictograms. The artist has her numerous solo exhibitions and as well as group exhibitions, and she received the Minister of Education Award at the 5th Quilt Nihon competition in Japan in 1998. Her works can be found in public, for example, the Württemberg State Museum, and private collections. Ursula Rauch has been a jury member for the Quilt Biennial and the first European Quilt Triennial since 1991, and has been involved in the organization of numerous exhibitions in the folklore department of the Baden State Museum in southern Germany. You can see from this slide that at exhibition openings, we try to let the culture of the respective country have its say through music and sometimes also through culinary delights. The gallery owner and expert Rudolf Smend in Cologne owns a delicate collection of Indonesian batiks, which we presented from August 12, 2001. Here you can see the performance of an Indonesian gamelan orchestra together with a dancer from Bali. The year 2004 was all about flower power. Flowers are generally all at the forefront of Ottoman embroidery, above all the tulip, of course. As you probably know, the tulip was imported from Turkey to Europe by the Dutch in the 16th century and traded at unbelievable prices. The second exhibition in 2004, which focused on blossoms, featured pop, oversized flowers by Stuttgart-based artist Susanna Taras. They were made by using tufting technique. The exhibition in fall 2007 showed embroideries of a completely different kind from fairy tale books based on the Brothers Grimm, such as Snow White or Cinderella, which are probably also known in the USA, at least through the film adaptation by Walt Disney. The artist was born in 1900 as the daughter of a missionary in Tanzania and came to Berlin in 1920, where she studied at the School of Arts and Crafts and the Academy of Art. At the end of the 1930s, she embroidered the first fairy tale book for her 5 children, and 24 more followed. Her embroideries are adorably naive and yet skillfully executed. In 2010, the photo exhibition Cotton Worldwide dealt in depth with the precarious situation of cotton workers and the environmentally harmful cultivation of the plant. However, it also showed alternatives with the cultivation of organic cotton. Swiss photographer Hans-Peter Jost captured all these facets with his camera in black and white photographs. Black and white photographs which are a feast for the eyes despite the bleakness of some of the motifs. Inge Huber, now 81 years old, is a co-founder of the Quilt Art Group, which I reported on earlier. To mark her 70th birthday, the Textile Museum organized a solo exhibition entitled Farbenklang in March 2013. Inge Huber began with traditional patchwork, which took on the most sophisticated forms in the 1980s. Having reached a certain point of perfection comparable to Michael James, she dedicated to return to simple designs and was the first in Germany to turn the back, that is, the unhemmed edges of the patches, to the front. In every creative phase, however, she used plain, self-dyed fabrics. Using a sophisticated technique of opposing trapezoids, she creates objects of great expressive power that offer the viewer changing color gradients as they pass by. The Quilt Art Association was the most important German association for contemporary art quilts. Too little commitment on the part of the members and a lack of new recruits were the reasons for dissolving the association last year. Unfortunately, this is a general trend among associations of all kinds in Germany. We presented 2 exhibitions in cooperation with the association, whose assets were donated to the textile collection at the express wish of the members following its dissolution. You can see from this the trust in cooperation and mutual appreciation. Let us look at 2 examples that could not be more different. On the left, a whole cloth quilt dyed with rust and drawn with quilt lines. On the right, an op-art strip piecing quilt made from an IKEA fabric called Sophia, which is no less impressive. You are all familiar with Nancy Crow. You all know her well enough. In 2014, the Textile Collection showed a small special presentation of her self-portraits and mini prints, which she made for her focus from 2011 after a radical break with her previous work and which reflect her innermost self. Self-portraits of who I am. Nancy Crow acquired the special printing technique on fabric herself within a very short time, continually reducing the number of tools and colors used in order to finally find an extremely compact, intense and exciting form of representation. All works are then processed into several layers of fabric and quilted with fine stitches, which creates an additional linearly structuring layer. In Motion was the theme of an international competition in November 2014, which presented 65 objects from 14 countries. This was a wonderful exhibition that set minds and emotions in motion and, as a traveling exhibition, remained in constant motion itself. So there was a lot of movement on several levels, which can literally be understood in this craft of felting and also forms its basis because felt is created through friction, that is, movement. In February 2016, the Textile Museum opened a treasure trove of traditional textiles from southern Chinese minorities, including impressive photographs by Friedhelm Petrovich, who persuaded the women to be photographed in their imaginative clothing. Clothing has great significance in all cultures, as it reveals an ethnic, tribal, or group affiliation, or even an international fashion trend. It reveals something about social status and can be an expression of individuality. As you can see, we had a lot of fun with this exhibition and especially with the collector. The Color Improvisations 2 exhibition in April 2017 was curated by Nancy Crow, who had invested a year and a half in selecting the exhibits. Each of the 44 participating artists submitted up to 5 works. Criteria for selection included very good composition, a strong individual voice as an artist, clean work, and intensive quilting. This is quoted by Nancy Crow. An exhibition at the Textile Museum in April 2018 once again explored the textile tradition of Japan. A collection of dyeing stencils made of paper, known as katagami, was juxtaposed with excitingly confusing graphic implementations in contemporary designs. The presentation was complemented by textile objects dyed using this technique, such as the kamishimo on display, traditional two-piece men's clothing from the Edo period. In contrast, the museum broke new ground with a cooperation with Bashkortostan, a rather unknown country on the eastern edge of the European part of the Russian Federation. This exhibition of traditional costumes and patchwork was initiated and supported by a Bashkir doctor living in Heidelberg. All the objects on display came from different regions of Bashkortostan. The exhibition was complemented by photographs by the Bashkir photographer and director Gulnaz Makieva, whose pictures of traditional costumes, buildings, and old handicrafts attempt to capture the traditions of this fascinating country. Many guests from Bashkortostan also played music at the opening. Today, something like this would be very difficult because of the war in the Ukraine. Just one example at this point. In order to import the exhibition Abstraction, Textural Elements for SAQA from SAQA, we had to confirm that we were not importing any Russian steel. One project that is very close to my heart is the Gulduzi embroidery program of the German Afghan Initiative, which has enabled Afghan women to support their families financially for 20 years. The unique hand-embroidered items are sold in Europe and in some cases serve as seedlings for artistic and creative work. This is done by inviting textile creators to integrate the embroidered, unique pieces into their own designs as part of competitions on various themes. The museum presented 2 competitions, Keep Your Eye on the Planet and Hand in Hand, in May 2019 and respectively October 2023. Last year, the exhibition was supplemented by textile portraits of some of the Afghan women, provided they agreed to be portrayed. The collector Katsuko Nakano, born 1935, who lives in northern Japan, has amassed a wealth of around 1,000 kimonos that provide an insight into the colorful and symbolic art of kimono designs from the Edo period, 1603-18 to 1868, to the present day. The children's kimonos presented in the Max Berk Textile Collection were shown for the first time in Germany, 2019. Motifs play a special role in children's kimonos as parents' expectations of their children's future are inscribed in them. In particularly decorative design elements, parental wishes appear as secret messages that need to be deciphered. The exhibition was curated by the Hungarian Zilla Schmidt, who you can experience here on a guided tour. Art Quilt was the title of a profound exhibition by the intergenerational group TX02 in September 2020. 7 artists between 25 and 80 years old created spaces to experience and immerse themselves in contemporary textile art through cabinets, panoramas, assemblages, and installations. Visitors encountered a rock-around that captured the overflowing impressions of a round trip. You could also experience a blue wonder that let you indulge in denim fabrics. In installations, extracts from book drawers soared to new heights as excerpts from cherished literature. Weiche Spitzen, or soft lace, surprised visitors as a fusion of soft art and kinetic op art. The artists and the museum also had a lot of fun putting this exhibition together. Wanderlust characterized the 1970s and is currently once again a widespread longing. Monika Erben's successful batik fashion brought an elegant touch of exotism and flower power to the Max Berk Textile Collection in summer 2021. Monika Erben lived with her family in Singapore, then the center of Asia's textile industry from 1970 to 1978. Inspired by a visit to a batik factory, she spontaneously had the idea of combining this fascinating craft with her fashion. She founded the label Batika, designed by Monika. The result is a unique symbiosis of traditional batik hand printing and modern fashion design. Each item of clothing was hand printed and hand dyed, making it unique. This fashion, which reflected the zeitgeist of the hippie generation of the 1970s, quickly became a worldwide success with exports to the USA, Australia, Japan, Dubai, and Europe. The attraction of the foreign, then and now, was also conveyed by the large format photographs taken by cameraman Harry Erben, who repeatedly photographed his wife in her models in exotic locations. 3 artists with roots in France, Germany, and Switzerland, Pascal Goldenberg, Gabi Met, and Judith Mundwila, had joined forces to form a textile open project, TOP. They presented the results of this collaboration for the first time at the exhibition in October 2022. This open project allows scope for the development for each individual, is thought through in many directions, and provides space for innovative thought and work processes. What all 3 artistic positions have in common is the materiality of their works. The most recent exhibition, which ended on July 29, 2024, once again focused on the theme of felt and showed the incredible versatility of this material in over 50 objects. My personal favorite object was the portrait of Felicitas with the pink cap, seen here in the middle of the slide. This object hung opposite our office wing and always made me smile. The most recent exhibition, which ended on July 29, 2024, once again focused on the theme of felt and showed the incredible versatility of this material in over 50 objects. Dr. Scherer's personal favorite was the portrait of Felicitas with the pink cap, seen here in the middle of the slide. The object hung opposite her office wing and always made her smile. Kristine Scherer would like to mention in this presentation the European Quilt Triennial once again, which is the most important and prestigious project of the museum. It was presented 4 times at the Festival of Quilts in Birmingham in the UK, which was a great success, but involved always immense efforts. Since the introduction of Brexit, the logistics have unfortunately become very difficult, and this also means that the triennial will no longer be shown there. Let the 5 last slides come to an end with a small selection of objects from the European Quilt Triennial. Dutch artist Anko Brewers Branderhorst, for example, always works perfectly and meticulously. The object Iridescence for an Evening by French artist Elisabeth Guevray, on the other hand, scores with its wonderful texture and warm haptic appearance created using the chenille technique. The Italian Marianne Fruauf achieved an illusionistic three-dimensionality in her object Scar, shown on the left. The jury found the video installation Timeless in Time by Dutch artist Miriam Pet Jacobs groundbreaking. It was therefore awarded a prize and purchased by the museum. The quilting by hand and by machine, recorded on video and slowly blended together, is projected onto the real quilt in the background through true transparent fabric screens. The rays of light create a virtual 3-layered quilt. These objects could not be more contrasting. On the left, the abstract composition Soundscape by Finnish artist Marita Lappalainen, made from typical regional wool materials. She was awarded the prize for innovation in large format. Susanne Klinke's work Luftschloss, or Castle in the Air, on the right also won a prize. The portraits, created by delicately layering dyed pieces of tulle, were particularly impressive. It should be noted that these were purely textile, not painted. The self-portrait by Austrian Anneliese Jaros, consisting of numerous small dots of felt, was also purely textile in design. In contrast, the award-winning object 9x11 by the young Polish artist Paulina Sadrak appeared very fragile. Using machine embroidery on a later dissolved ground, she created 911, that is 99 patches, with a delicate color gradient. One might be reminded of an antique tattered patchwork quilt, but the trauma of 9/11 may also be alluded to between the lines. We now have reached the last slide of the presentation. Thank you for listening. Stay healthy and welcome to Heidelberg. Maybe we can meet at the exhibition Abstraction Textural Elements. Everyone is most welcome. Thank you.
I want to say thank you so much to Dr. Kristine Scherer for introducing us to the Max Berk Textile Collection. I just love the work that they're doing, showing all different types of textile art from all over the world, and I would absolutely love to visit the museum. And if you are anywhere near Heidelberg, Germany, I really encourage you to visit as well. Thank you to all of you for watching. Next week's Textile Talk is Learn and Make with SDA Part 1, presented by the Surface Design Association. As always, you can find all of the information and our archive of over 200 textile talks at SAQA.com/textile talks. If you enjoy textile talks, we would love it if you would tell a friend, post about us on social media, or consider supporting our work financially with a donation at SAQA.com/TT support. Don't forget, viewers of Textile Talks get $20 off the first year of a new SAQA membership with code TALKS. That's TALKS. I hope you all have a fantastic Wednesday, and we will see you next week. Thanks for watching.